Hey everyone! Earlier this year, I had the opportunity to visit the incredible land of Mongolia. It was an unforgettable journey through vast steppes, ancient history, and a deeply rooted nomadic culture. Like many of you, I had so many questions before my trip. What to pack, where to go, how to get around, how cold it really gets. Now that I've returned, I want to share what I learned, not as an expert, but as one traveler hoping to help others plan their adventure. For context, I traveled in early May, which was late spring, and explored only central Mongolia, Ulaanbaatar, Kharkhorin, Hustai National Park, and the Orkhon Valley. Though we drove thousands of kilometers, this was just a tiny slice of this enormous country. Please remember that I'm not a Mongolia expert or seasoned overlander. These are simply my reflections from a single trip. My experience was shaped by using a customized private tour, so it may be a little different from someone going solo or using public transport. With that in mind, let's go through your top questions, one by one. Is Mongolia safe to travel to? Yes, overall, Mongolia felt very safe to me. Crime rates are low, especially outside the capital. That said, in Ulaanbaatar, you'll want to be cautious like you would in any city. Pickpocketing can happen, especially in crowded areas or markets. And traffic? Well, traffic in Ulaanbaatar can be unpredictable. Cars don't always stop at crosswalks, and roads can be hectic. Out in the countryside, safety is less about crime and more about being prepared. You can drive for hours without seeing another soul. No gas stations, no phone signal, no towns. So make sure you have the right vehicle, enough fuel, food, water, and someone who knows the area. I'd recommend not going off-grid without a guide, unless you're experienced in remote travel. Weather and terrain can change fast, and the nearest help might be hundreds of kilometers away. Is it hard to get into Mongolia? For many travelers, no visa is required, at least for stays under 30 days. For example, if you're from Singapore, Malaysia, most of Europe, Japan, South Korea, or the US, you can enter visa-free. That said, visa policies change, so it's best to check with your nearest Mongolian embassy or official tourism site before booking anything. The main international gateway is Ulaanbaatar's Chinggis Khan International Airport. From there, you'll either explore the city or head straight out into the countryside. There are also direct flights from cities like Seoul, Tokyo, Beijing, and Istanbul, depending on the season. The latest news is that Mongolian Airlines will launch direct Singapore-Ulaanbaatar flights from November 4th, 2025. It is definitely more accessible now. If you're arriving by land, you can enter via Russia or China, but that usually takes more planning. What is there to see in Mongolia? Vast landscapes that stretch endlessly. From sand dunes and grassy steppes to snow-capped mountains. In central Mongolia, key sites include the Orkhon Valley, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, Hustai National Park, famous for wild Taki horses, Kharkhorin, and the Dana Zoo Monastery, a reminder of Mongolia's Buddhist past, and of course, Ulaanbaatar, the capital, where tradition and urban life collide. What is there to do? Lots. You can ride horses across open plains, sleep in yurts, share meals with nomadic families, hike to waterfalls, and camp under the stars. Mongolia is perfect for people who want to disconnect from busy urban life and reconnect with nature. Just remember, the pace of life is slower here. Embrace it. Do people still live as nomads? Yes, and it's not a romanticized lifestyle. Roughly 40% of Mongolia's population still lives as nomads or semi-nomads. That means moving several times a year with their livestock to find fresh pasture. It's a tough life, shaped by centuries of adaptation to Mongolia's extreme climate. However, nomadic life isn't frozen in time. Many families now use solar panels to charge phones, motorcycles to herd livestock, and trucks to move yurts. Yet their survival still hinges on ancient knowledge of the land. This blend of tradition and modernity completely redefined what I thought I knew about simple living. When is the best time to go? This depends on what you're looking for. For clear skies and fewer crowds, aim for late spring to early summer, May to June. I went in early May, and the landscape was mostly brown, the land just starting to turn green after winter. Some days were sunny and mild. Others were incredibly windy and cold, especially in wide open areas like the steppe. Night temperatures easily drop to below freezing, especially in rural areas where heating isn't always reliable. Summer, June to August, is warmer, and that's when most travelers come. It's also when the Naadam festival happens in July, a big national celebration with horse racing, archery, and wrestling. Autumn in September can be stunning too, with golden grasses and fewer crowds. Winter travel is possible, but you'll need serious gear, good guides, and a high tolerance for cold. So think about what kind of landscapes and weather you want. Mongolia's seasons are extreme and beautiful in different ways. Is it hard to get around Mongolia? Yes and no. Within Ulaanbaatar, you can get around using taxis, the public bus system, or ride-hailing apps like UB Cab and InDriver. But the moment you leave the city, transport becomes a real challenge. There's no extensive public transport network between cities or remote areas. Trains exist, but they mainly serve the Trans-Mongolian Railway, like Ulaanbaatar to Russia or China, with few domestic routes for tourists. That's why most travelers either join a guided tour with a driver, rent a private four-wheel drive with a local guide, or if they're very experienced, drive themselves. Just know that roads in Mongolia aren't like elsewhere. Some stretches are paved, but others are unpaved, rocky, muddy, or completely unmarked. You can drive hours without seeing signs or buildings. GPS might say, go straight, but you're looking at a dozen dirt tracks with no idea which one is correct. So, unless you speak Mongolian and have experience with off-road travel, it's strongly recommended to hire a local driver. My tour included both a driver and a guide. And honestly, I wouldn't have made it far without them. During one remote stretch of the steppe, our car suddenly broke down. With no service stations for miles, our driver flagged down a passing local, and in fluent Mongolian, asked for a spare bolt to get us moving again. They knew how to navigate rough terrain. They spoke the language, and they could spot herds, yurts, and wild animals from miles away. Most importantly, during the long drives, we exchanged lots of stories, and I learned a lot about their cultures and everyday lives.
Songs are listed best in the Billboard and other music.
Which side of the road do they drive on? Officially, they drive on the right. But here's the quirk. Many vehicles, especially vans or four-wheel drive, are second-hand Japanese imports with the steering wheel on the right. We had two cars, one with the steering wheel on the left and the other one on the right. So your driver might be on the wrong side, but they drive on the right side of the road. Don't panic if it looks weird initially. Do I need to go on a tour? Can I travel solo? You can travel solo in Mongolia, but it takes planning, flexibility, and a certain comfort with discomfort. If you're staying just in Ulaanbaatar, you can explore the city on your own. But once you leave the capital, you'll either need a guide or be confident handling remote travel yourself. Tour companies often provide a local driver, a guide who can translate and navigate, accommodations, meals, and itineraries that cover vast distances efficiently.
In 1990, Mongolia, this area was like that. There, if you notice that there is nothing, any glassy tower around here.
Without a tour, you'll need to figure out all of that on your own. And that's not easy in Mongolia, where English is limited outside cities and there's little infrastructure. If you prefer comfort, ease, or are on a tight schedule, go with a local tour company. If you're adventurous and don't mind taking risks, you can design your own trip. There's no one right answer. Just make sure you understand what you're signing up for. How did you find your tour operator? I found ours through a Facebook advertisement. At first I was nervous. What if it was a scam? What if we got stranded in the middle of nowhere? But the company turned out to be trustworthy, and they were helpful and swift in accommodating our needs. You can find their contact details in the description box. One tip on booking your trip through a tour company: let them know your travel preferences and any special needs in advance. For example, I told them that we didn't want anything too extreme because we were traveling with older family members and we wanted to avoid any accommodations that do not come with attached bathrooms. Most importantly, we also informed them in advance that my parents don't eat beef and mutton, so they always make sure to bring us to places that come with other protein options. What's the accommodation like? You'll find a mix of modern hotels, guest houses, and traditional yurts, depending on where you are. In Ulaanbaatar, you can find everything from luxury hotels to budget hostels. Wi-Fi is available, hot showers are standard, and English-speaking staff are common in tourist areas. But once you leave the city, things get simpler and a little rougher. In the countryside, many travelers stay in traditional Mongolian yurts made from felt and canvas. Some of these are built for tourists and offer private beds, shared bathrooms, and simple meals. Others are hosted by nomadic families, which means a more authentic but less comfortable experience. These are what to expect. Shared pit toilets or outhouses. No running water, no showers. Wood or dung-fired stoves for heat. No electricity, or just a solar panel for lights. If that sounds rough, it is a little. But it's also one of the best ways to experience Mongolia's nomadic lifestyle. Pack accordingly, bring wet wipes, headlamps, power banks, and a warm sleeping layer, even in summer. How clean are yurts? Do they smell like dung? They're simple but surprisingly clean. Yes, dried dung is used as fuel for the stove, but it doesn't smell bad. The air inside the yurts felt fresh, just a hint of smoke when the fire's going. Blankets were clean, and the sleeping setup was cozy. Think rustic, not roughing it. How do you use the toilet in the countryside? Outside luxury camps at hotels, you have two options: outhouses and bush toilets. Outhouses are common at Jia camps. Usually a small wooden hut with a pit toilet, hole in the ground, or sometimes a basic seat. Bring toilet paper and hand sanitizer. On long drives between sites, facilities simply don't exist. You find a discreet spot behind a rock, bush, or hill. Honestly, the vastness and lack of people make it less awkward than you'd think. And yes, seeing animal dung everywhere strangely makes it feel more natural and less gross than an urban alley. It's just part of the adventure. What do people eat in Mongolia? Will I be okay if I'm vegetarian?
For making a Mongolian barbecue.
Mongolian food is shaped by its nomadic roots. Simple, hearty, and meat-heavy. Expect lots of cooked meats like mutton or beef. Kushur, a deep-fried meat pastry. Suivan, a fried noodle dish. Bityu shul, mutton soup sealed with dough. And dairy, including dried curd, fermented butter, and fresh yogurt. Not to forget sutetsai, Mongolia's salty milk tea. If you eat meat, you'll be just fine. But if you're vegetarian or vegan, it's trickier. Outside of Ulaanbaatar, vegetables are rare, and dietary restrictions may not be understood. My advice is to let your guide know in advance. They might be able to plan around your needs. In addition to that, bring snacks or protein bars. And if you're self-catering, stock up on essentials in Ulaanbaatar before heading out. That said, Mongolian hospitality is real. Even in the most remote spots, families will invite you in and offer what they have. Often salty milk tea and bread. It's considered rude to decline, so take small sips or bites to be polite. Do they speak English? In Ulaanbaatar, young people and those who work in tourism speak English. In the countryside, not much. We relied on our guide to translate when conversing with our driver and the nomadic families we visited.
Kharkhorin city, which is made based on the history and measurements and architecture of the city.
But most of our communication with nomads was non-verbal. Smiles, hand gestures, laughter. It's incredible how deeply you can connect beyond language. How much does a trip to Mongolia cost? Mongolia isn't exactly cheap, but it's good value for what you get. If you're staying in Ulaanbaatar, you can travel on a budget, maybe $80 or less per day, depending on where you sleep and eat. But once you head into the countryside, the cost goes up, because everything must be pre-arranged, driven in, or accompanied by staff. Mid-range tours cost between $150 to $250 per person per day, depending on your itinerary, group size, and accommodation level. This usually includes a private four-wheel drive, driver and guide. They can be the same person. Fuel, accommodations, mostly yurts, meals, and entry fees. My family is pickier with accommodations, and on top of that, my parents don't eat beef and mutton, so we had to make a lot more adjustment to our itinerary, and that also further increased our costs. You can make it cheaper by joining a group tour or cutting your trip shorter. Just don't expect the kind of budget backpacking you can do in Southeast Asia. Still, where else in the world can you sleep in a yurt, watch wild horses, and have an entire valley to yourself? What about connectivity? Will I have phone signal or Wi-Fi? In Ulaanbaatar, Wi-Fi is widely available at hotels, cafes, and even malls. Mobile data works fine in the city. But as soon as you leave Ulaanbaatar, signal becomes spotty. You might get reception in small towns, but not in open steppe, mountain ranges, or deep valleys. You can buy a local SIM card from companies like Unitel or Mobicom at the airport or city shops. Make sure your phone is unlocked. Prepaid data is affordable and useful in areas with coverage. It's actually kind of freeing to be offline. Just let family or friends know you'll be unreachable for stretches. What should I pack? What do people wear in Mongolia? When it comes to packing, it is all about layers. Mongolia's weather changes quickly. Even in summer, it can go from hot and dry to cold and windy in a few hours. Here's what helped me the most: a windproof and waterproof outer layer, a warm thermal base layer. I had my trusted Uniqlo heat tech on the entire trip. Comfortable trekking shoes for uneven terrain, wet wipes, tissues, hand sanitizer, sunscreen, lip balm, lozenges, and sunglasses. The glare can be harsh in wide open spaces. I didn't stay overnight in a traditional yurt, but if you are planning to, you should definitely bring power bank and a headlamp. Traditional Mongolian dress is practical for the terrain. You might see herders wearing dels, which are thick robes tied with a sash. They're warm, windproof, and made for riding. You can even try one on at some yurt camps. What are some things you wish you packed but didn't? First, lozenges. The dry air irritated my throat so much. Second, a soft neck pillow for long drives. Third, and the most regrettable, souvenirs from my country. I wish I had brought something meaningful as a gift to the nomadic families I visited. Their warmth and generosity left an indelible mark on me, not just as a traveler, but as a person. I realized these families have likely hosted visitors from all over the world, each carrying back embers of their kindness in their hearts, just like me. How I wish I had brought something special from my country to leave with them, not just as thanks, but as proof that their open-door kindness creates ripples across oceans, connecting our worlds in ways they might never see or know. Will the altitude affect me? Central Mongolia isn't high altitude like Tibet or Peru, but you're still at around 1,300 to 1,500 meters above sea level. I didn't have altitude sickness, but I did notice how dry the air was, especially in the steppe. I had minor nosebleeds, and my throat felt scratchy most days. Lozenges were a lifesaver. If you're sensitive, bring nasal spray and drink lots of water. Can I fly a drone? Mongolia's landscapes are perfect for drones, and the footage is stunning. Drones are allowed for recreational use, but check local laws. Avoid flying near borders, religious sites, or crowds. We were told not to fly in the capital, but anywhere in the countryside is fine. While doing so, be respectful. Avoid flying over religious sites, people, or animals. Otherwise, just make sure your gear is charged and protected from dust. Is it okay to take photos of nomads or their homes? One of the nomadic family we visited were okay with us taking photos of their guest yurts, but not of them. So the simple answer is, always ask. A simple gesture or showing your camera is enough. Most people are okay with it, but some prefer privacy. Be polite and don't treat people like exhibits. You wouldn't want people to barge into your home and start taking photos of everything too, right? Is horseback riding or camel riding safe for beginners? Generally, yes, especially with a guide. Remember to listen to your guide. The animals in Mongolia, though domesticated, still have a wild survival instinct. Some things we learned. Climb up from the right side of the animal so not to startle them. Never stand behind the animal, or you might break your bones. Otherwise, riding a horse and camel through the vast, beautiful steppe is one of the most ancient feelings you'll ever experienced. Did my parents enjoy this trip? Yes, but it wasn't always easy. The long drives and bumpy roads were tiring, and not all places had the comforts they're used to. But they loved the scenery, the culture, and the change in pace. It's doable for older travelers, but you may need to adjust expectations. What parts were physically demanding? The off-road drives were the toughest. Hours of bouncing around on rocky paths. Not ideal if you have lower back issues. Hiking was mild and the weather was manageable. But this isn't a spa vacation, it's an adventure. That's it for this Mongolia travel guide. I hope this answered some of the questions you have and maybe helped you feel more prepared to explore this incredible country. Mongolia isn't the easiest destination, but it's one of the most rewarding. There's something unforgettable about standing in complete silence, with nothing around you but sky, wind, and the distant sound of hooves. If you want to see what this looked like in real life, I've also made a few travel vlogs from my time in Mongolia. You can find it in the description box below. And if you have questions I didn't cover, drop them in the comments. I'm sure there are many friendly local people who can provide some pointers. Thanks for watching and happy travels.